Hello, what's up my fellow movie nerds? My name's Barry King and I am that weird movie nerd. Now, A Quiet Place Part 2, 2021. It is directed by John Krasinski and also written by John Krasinski, I'm pretty sure. This was a pretty fabulous movie. Now, the one huge gripe I had with this film was I couldn't eat my snacks. I'm sitting in the cinema, grab my popcorn, and I'm waiting for a moment for me to pop it in and start crunching. Hardly any of those. So I couldn't eat my popcorn or my lollies. How dare a movie be so quiet that I can't eat my popcorn or lollies? Now, straight out of the gate, this is a very beautiful concept, but a very simple story. And I feel like that's kind of where it shines, is that it's using that simple story and just wrapping a nice little bow around it because of how good the concept is. Now, I can't remember much of the first movie because I watched it back when it came out in 2017, 2018. So I'm not going to be comparing it much to the first one like everyone else is, I'm sorry. But I do remember the vibe being very much the same. The pacing in this was actually really good. I loved it. I loved how tense it got, how clenched my butt cheeks were in the seat. And some of the editing was actually awesome, how there was two different stories going, but they had the same amount of tension going straight forward, that they both had the same amount of tension and they were both reaching a peak and then they both broke at the same time. I absolutely loved that. That was amazing. Thank you, editing team, for doing that. But yeah, that's one of the gripes I had with it as well, was it was a lot of the same of the first movie. There wasn't too much more we learned about the creatures, which kind of upset me because they're like the whole point of the whole movie, and they were the exact same as the first one. We didn't have like maybe a super buff one or a different type of one that they had to conjure up another way of killing. It was all the exact same, and you can do that. But see, in the first movie, that's what we were figuring out. We were figuring out how these creatures worked and how to kill them. In this movie, they didn't do that, which is totally fine. It's totally fine. But you usually do that so that you can make more room for another story element. And I really thought they were going to do that with the baby, but they completely pushed the baby out of the way. At the end of the first movie, I was like, oh, okay, so they're probably going to explore having a child in this apocalyptic world, but they kind of pushed that aside. The baby stayed very quiet, and yeah. And although they did show some of the first days of the, what's it called? Apocalypse? I'm gonna call it apocalypse. Although they did show the first days of the apocalypse, it didn't really bring anything new to the table. Come to think of it, that whole scene didn't bring anything new to the table. But I did actually really enjoy that first scene because John Krasinski was in it, and he actually like freaking shined throughout all that. I loved him, and I was so upset that he wasn't in this movie and that they killed him off within the first movie. But that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. We don't need him. We don't need him. Because the other stars actually really shined in this movie. Cillian Murphy was amazing, like he always is, and all the other cast. Let me look at their names. Millicent Simmons, she was amazing, a great lead protagonist. And then Noah Jupe was actually amazing as well, even though he didn't have much in the movie, but he really shined throughout this movie. Everyone in this movie was amazing, but I feel like Emily Blunt got so pushed to the side in this movie. Like, holy crap. I understand that Simmons was the main protagonist, but you didn't have to shove Emily out so much like that. And I feel like Cillian took more screen time than her. Cillian was more of a main character than her, which I feel was really weird because we knew hardly anything about him and we were still learning about Emily, and I guess she was the main protagonist of the last film, if I'm remembering properly. But yeah, she was pushed aside big time. Now we gotta talk about the big elephant in the room, the sound design. Ooh, whoever was in charge of that did such a good job bleeding in and out of not hearing anything and then hearing everything. That was gorgeous. Although sometimes when they were whispering, I couldn't really make out what they were saying, but that's probably because I've always got subtitles on, so I'm always relying on subtitles, and my hearing isn't the best. Other than that, the sound design was amazing, as it should be, because it's all about sound. Just bleeding in and out from that, not hearing anything, and just having that tunnel vision on that one person in one scenario, and then feeling like, oh, damn it, the sound, we need sound to hear if something's going wrong. Now the VFX of the creatures, it was pretty amazing, but there was some times where in the wide shots, they looked a bit not as well done, but that's fine. In the close-ups, they did look pretty amazing, so I guess I can excuse that. Maybe it was just my eyes playing tricks on me or something, or I don't know, I'm just nitpicking at this point. Now, as I said before, they didn't really do anything with the creatures. They didn't really expand on them at all. And they also did that with the characters and, like, the plot, kind of. It didn't really get anywhere in the world. I mean, they moved from their house to be with Cillian's character, and then they found an island where the creatures weren't. I guess that's, like, the development, but then I think that leaned into the biggest gripe I had with the film. Was it was so short, and it felt like it didn't finish. I was watching it, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so they've killed these creatures, alright, they're gonna go save Emily's character and all that, and then the credits rolled, and I was like, wait, we just watched half an hour, and then I turned to my friend who I was watching it with, and he's like, no, that was an hour and a half. I was like, what? I feel like more and more movies are doing that these days. They need to pack more in them. Again, like I said with Saw, I guess it's the marketing aspect of it, but like, I don't want to see another movie. I do want to see another movie, but I don't want to have to wait another 3 years for another movie to come out. It just felt so incomplete. Yeah, they've killed monsters before, but apparently these two at the finale were the big bosses or something, and I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that punch, like, hey, we've finished another step, let's move on with the rest of the narrative. Going into this movie, I'm like, oh, alright, so are they going to make part 3? And then finishing it, I'm like, well, absolutely they are, because they didn't finish the movie. There's still more to come. It was sort of like a cliffhanger, but not really. They could have released this as its own movie and not even had the part 1. It could be just its own movie in itself. I mean, there's some things that go back to part 1, but... Now, A Quiet Place Part 2. I'm gonna rate it 3.5 out of 5. I'm not sure what I rated the first one. I don't even think I rated the first one. I think it was so long ago before I started rating things. But a 3.5 because it doesn't give anything new. There's nothing really new. If I say anything wrong, type it down in the comments. Have a little banter with me. I love talking about movies, even if I'm wrong about them. I love hearing new theories and all that jazz. If you have a movie you want me to watch, comment below and I'll add to my watch list, and then I'll get around to it after I watch the other 100 movies that I've got to watch. So thank you all for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day, night, whatever it is, and I'll see you guys in the next review.